Hello everyone and welcome back inside to UCCU Ballpark for our final game of the night. And it's between the Skyridge Falcons and the Mountain Ridge Sentinels. My name is JT Wister, so excited to be with you as we close out another great day of bracket play. This is our second semifinals matchup on hand. We just had American Fork fall to Riverton, the Silverwolves, who emerged from the loser side of the bracket, so they forced a game that will be played tomorrow. Why is that important? Because the winner of that game between American Fork and Riverton will go to the state championship to play the winner of Skyridge Mountain Ridge. Now, here's how this game will work out. If Skyridge, the top seed in our tournament, wins, they are in the state championship and have tomorrow off. If Mountain Ridge is able to defeat them here, we will have a game played again at 7 o'clock. It would be basically the third straight game these two teams have played at 7 o'clock, but that's only if Mountain Ridge is able to win. As we're just about set to get the action underway, let's tell you who's going to be in the field for the Falcons. Ty Evans is catching, Chase Youngberg over on first, Isaac Johansson at second, Ike Pickle at shortstop, Tyler Balls at third, Dalton Young in left field, Crew Shank in center field, and Gavin Bauer over in right field with Mason Thompson getting the start on the mound for the Falcons. For Mountain Ridge at the bat, the Sentinels, it'll be Austin Goodrich, the left fielder, the leadoff hitter, followed by Stockton Folks batting second. Jackson Reiser pitching this game will bat third. Easton Gunn batting cleanup. Luke Nelson batting fifth. Remington Edwards will bat in the sixth spot, with Austin Ellis batting seventh. Taj Henry batting eighth, and Braxton Miller batting ninth. Skyridge won 6-5 last night in a thriller. If this game is anything like that, then we're in for a treat. Thompson delivers the first ball of the day. Mountain Ridge was eliminated beaten in yesterday's game by Skyridge, and then had to face Bingham for the second time in our tournament. In that one, we saw Mountain Ridge battle back and forth with the Miners, but in the end, it was a 4-3 Sentinels victory. 3-0 the count. Thompson trying to find his footing early against Goodrich, who flew out in his first plate appearance earlier, but drove in a run in his last at-bat. Takes strike one there. Also grounded out to second in the previous game. This ball lifted in the left field in foul territory, but able to make a play on it. On the line is Dalton Young, the left fielder. Dalton Young was the hero last night, who had the RBI single in a walk-off fashion to win it 6-5 for the top-seeded Falcons. Stockton Folks now do it. Folks, in the earlier game against Bingham, struck out in his first plate appearance and grounded out to short and to third in his latter two at-bats. Folks crushes one straight up in the air. Waiting. And eventually tracking it down in center field is Crew Shank. Shank got the start on the mound in yesterday's action between the Falcons and Sentinels, and was really strong for most of the game, but was hit a few times in the seventh. Or excuse me, he was actually pulled before the seventh. It was Johansson who came in relief of him. But Johansson able to hold on and get the win for the Falcons after their offensive comeback late in the game. That'll bring up Jackson Reiser, the pitcher in this one. He had a sensational diving grab earlier out in center field. He'll get the start today on the mound, but to retire the Miners in the midst of what Bingham was hoping would be a comeback. Reiser flew out to center field in the previous game, was also hit by a pitcher once. This one, a line drive that's overthrown after it's recovered by Ball on third. So a rare mistake by the talented Ball, the future BYU Cougar, allows Reiser to make it to second. He had a number of situations play out like that last night where he capitalized on some errors and miscues. Reiser, the first time today he's hit the ball in play in reach field. He was hit by a pitch in the previous game, but popped out in his first plate appearance ago. But that one off a bounce, just too hot for ball to handle, and he rushed the throw. 2 outs. A runner on second with Reiser there. Bring up Easton Gunn. Gunn in action earlier today. Crushed one into right field in his first at-bat. Was also hit by a pitch and grounded out short. He's looking to bring in Reiser, who resides on second. 0-1 the count. Gunn gashes one. That's going to drop just in foul territory. Chase Youngberg was given chase but couldn't make it in time. That one nearly was fair, though. 0-2 the count. Mason Thompson looking for his first strikeout of the day to get Skyridge on the offensive. Falcons looking to punch their ticket to the championship game. The Sentinels just trying to force a win-all game tomorrow. 1-0 the count. This one gashed into center field. It takes a bounce before it reaches Shake. Reiser coming home, and he doesn't even need to slide. Sentinels with a little bit of a 2-out rally, and they score first in the top of the first. Gunn absolutely boomed that one, and because of it, it's a 1-0 advantage for Mountain Ridge. The RBI single for Easton Gunn. Luke Nelson now due up, the second baseman. In our previous game, he crushed one deep into center field. Also popped out to the catcher a game ago, and in his third and final at-bat, blasted one into center field once again. So Nelson coming off having a hot bat, also scored 2 runs as a base runner, stealing bases and just capitalizing on some crazy pickle scenarios and other things we can get into and dive into more as this game wears on. One and one the count. Nelson lifts it sky high into center field. Waiting on it is Shank. Shank makes the grab and gets the Falcons out of it, but not before they surrendered a run. So 1 hit and 1 run in the top of the first for Mountain Ridge. They lead it. Falcons up to bat. Up next, bottom of the first on KSL Sports Rewind. Welcome back inside the UCCU ballpark. The Sentinels were able to score a run before Nelson flew out to center field to end the top of the first. That puts the Mountain Ridge Sentinels in the field. Easton Gunn at catcher for them. Taj Henry at first. Luke Nelson at second. Stockton Folks at third. Braxton Miller at short. Austin Goodrich in left field. Grayson Riding in center field. And Remington Edwards in right field. For the Falcons, it'll be Dalton Young up to bat first. Then Cruz Shank, Isaac Johansson, Tyler Ball, Ike Pickle, Ty Evans, Gavin Bauer batting 7th, Mason Thompson, the pitcher, batting 8th, and Chase Youngberg playing first and batting 9th. And I'll bring up Dalton Young. As we mentioned, Young had an incredible end of the game yesterday. Before that, it was pretty forgettable. He had a strikeout, flew out to center, and another strikeout. But when it mattered most and his team needed him, he sealed the walk-off victory on an RBI. He blasted right up the middle to bring in the walk-off run and make it a 6-5 Falcons advantage in the bottom of the 7th. And he's already on base because Reiser, trying to settle himself in, hit Young with the pitch. Cruz Shank now due up. As I mentioned, he started pitching yesterday. Shank in yesterday's action while batting. Rocketed one into right field to land on base in his first at-bat. Then was retired on a short ball. He hit to the pitcher. Trying to go for second is Young, and Young going to make it as he slides safely to the base pad. Reiser yet to deliver a strike. And Young already is second, trying to tie the game up. We were scoreless until the bottom of the second yesterday. Could have a lot more runs added here early with the start the Falcons and Sentinels are already off to. Shank, after rocketing that one to right field, mentioned being retired to the pitcher, and then a strikeout. The Skyridge team that earned the top seed after an outstanding regular season. Overall, 21-5 and 13-3 in Region 4 play. They scored 228 runs on the season, only allowing 108. By comparison, the Sentinels in this one, they earned the 5th seed. 19 wins for the Sentinels, 8 losses, 11-4 in Region 3 play, just finished shy of what the Riverton Silverwolves were in Region. 3-0 the count. Reiser delivers his first strike of the day. Falcons faced off against Davis in the Super Regionals after earning the bye. They dismantled the Darts 11-1 in the first game before winning the second, 7-2. Reiser, the high delivery. He's now put 2 batters on base. So Shank with the walk. And now due up is Isaac Johansson. Johansson closed it out for the Falcons on the mound yesterday. At the bats yesterday, 2 strikeouts in his first 2 appearances, but then was able to walk in the final one. 2 runners on, no outs. Johansson allows the first pitch to pass. Skyridge in their first game faced off against the 8th-seeded Pleasant Grove Vikings. In that one, neither side, being the Falcons or the Vikings, scored in regulation. It wasn't until the bottom of the 8th that the Falcons would finally score and break the lengthy tie. In that one, it was Cruz Shank who drove in Dalton Young when he rocketed a ball into right field. Similar to how Young closed out the Sentinels, was how Shank ended up closing it out with the walk-off victory over PG, 1-0 in the bottom of the 8th. 2-0 the count, and already bodies in the bullpen for the Sentinels, with Reiser not looking comfortable here early. Brock Whitney leads Mountain Ridge, while Ryan Roberts leads the Falcons. Two on the count. Still no outs, 2 runners on. Johansson, the second baseman. That's the outside delivery pass for ball 3. Reiser in danger of loading the bases up. Full count the first time today we reached the mark. Reiser looking for his first strikeout or just the first out of the inning. Johansson looking to load the bases with Ball, the most prolific hitter in the order, on deck. Ball going to be up in a moment because that one boomed by Johansson in the right field. And it scores 2 runs. Isaac Johansson. What a hit as he buries that one in the right field. It makes it a 2-1 Falcons lead. So Isaac Johansson brings in 2 runs on the RBI single was just 1 run. As not quite able to come home that time with Shank. As he gets over to second, I thought I saw 2 cross home, but that was just Ball awaiting to step up to the plate. He fouls the first off, so we are tied at 1. Apologies for the confusion there for a moment. So Johansson brought in 1 run to tie things up. On a rocketing ball, he launched into right field. He's now on first. Ball in yesterday's action struck out in his last 2 plate appearances, but before that launched a double into left field. But Tyler Ball just an incredible season. 38 runs driven in, 8 doubles, 4 triples, 10 home runs on the season. That ball squeezes away, and easily making it to second is Johansson. So 2-1 the count. Check over at third. Johansson now on second. Ball with still no outs in the inning. A low delivery as the count goes to 3-1. Reiser in danger of loading the bases back up. We're loading the bases up for the first time today as Johansson was the one who got everyone moving. Tyler Ball blasts it high into right field. Back on it is Remington Edwards. Edwards giving chase and makes the grab, colliding with the wall, but tag up opportunities for the Falcons, and it's a sacrifice fly ball as it brings in more runs. Now a 2-1 advantage for Skyridge. And Johansson already all the way over to third, although 2 outs in the inning now, so the Falcons have to be careful. Ike Pickle, the shortstop, now due up. Pickle punches one. It's just going to end up in foul territory. Pickle in yesterday's action against the Sentinels reached base on a shallow shot into center field, then struck out. Then was able to return what was originally just going to be a base hit into a triple for him as he made it over to third after an error on the Sentinels infield. 0-1 the count. 2-0 now. Reiser looking for the K. Just 1 out in the inning after ball flew out to right field. Ground ball fielded cleanly off the bounce. And after checking over third, a good decision by Luke Nelson to get the easy out at first. So Ty Evans steps in with 2 outs now. Evans flew out in his first at-bat yesterday into center field, but drove in a run in the process. Also flew out to center field in the second at-bat. And in his final one, had another run brought in that productive bottom of the 7th after he ripped one into right field. He fouls this one off to even the count at 1-1. Evans thought about swinging, pulled back. That one nearly slips away from Gunn, but not too far from him. So Johansson stays on third. Johansson brought in the first run of the day when he ripped a ball into right field. And Ball followed him up by doing the same, but he flew out to right field on a sacrifice fly. But the 2-1 advantage for the Falcons early. It took them until the bottom of the 2nd for them to score runs in yesterday's action with the Sentinels, but here they've already started early and in a good chance to keep the scoring going. 3-1 the count. Evans swings on the ball, so the full count delivery up next with 2 outs. Reiser trying to limit the damage to just 2 runs allowed early. This ball launched into center field, but waiting on it. In fact, barely having to move to make the grab out there was Grayson Riding. And Riding retires Evans to end the first inning. It's a 2-1 Falcons advantage. Sentinels up to bat when we come back on KSL Sports Rewind. We're set to resume play in the top of the 2nd. So a 2-1 lead for the top-seeded Falcons facing off against the 5th-seeded Sentinels. Easton Gunn launched in an RBI with 2 outs in the top of the 1st. But then for the Falcons, it was Tyler Ball with the sacrifice fly and Isaac Johansson, who landed himself on base with a rocketing RBI to bring in the first run of the day. 1-2 the difference. The inside delivery, and it does graze off Remington Edwards. Edwards had a very prolific previous game, but doesn't even get an opportunity at the plate, really, as he's just hit by a pitch right away. And I'll bring up Austin Ellis, the DH. Ellis, in the previous game, was hit by a pitch and failed to reach base in his other 2 plate appearances. He shows bunt, but pulls back. Sentinels trying to tie the game or take the lead here in the top of the first. As I said last night, through this point, Sentinels and Falcons scoreless. But today, it's a much different game, and the early 2-1 advantage belonging to the Falcons. We started to talk a little bit how Skyridge reached this position. And we mentioned last night's game against Mountain Ridge, too. So the victories against Mountain Ridge, Pleasant Grove, and 2 against Davis are what allows them to have to be 1 victory away from the 6A state championship game. The 6A state championship games will be played at 4 o'clock this Friday, the 26th. The first one, and then if needed, the second and third game. Well, the second game will be needed for sure. That'll be at 11 o'clock on Saturday. And the third game, if necessary, will be played at 4:30. You can join Dusty Lister at UVU. He'll have you covered for those calls. 1-2 the count. Ellis trying to avoid being retired by Thompson. Pickoff attempt to first, unsuccessful. One, two, the count. Ellis goes down swinging. Mason Thompson with his first strikeout of the day. Taj Henry now due up. Yesterday, an incredible pitching performance by Henry on the mound for Mountain Ridge. He couldn't quite finish it out, but he held Skyridge to only 2 runs, and he held them scoreless for 3 straight innings. It'll be Henry up now, Miller's on deck, and then we turn it back over to the top of the order for the Sentinels already. Both teams pretty deep into their batting orders after 1. Outside delivery. Looking at how Mountain Ridge reached this position, the 5th seed Sentinels defeated Layton 23-7, still the most runs we've seen of any team score in postseason play. Then 13-3, bouncing the Lancers in back-to-back games before beating Bingham 10-3. They fell to Skyridge like we said last night, but then the Sentinels held tough earlier today for the 4-3 victory against their Region 3 rival. It's hard to beat a team 4 times, and that's what the Sentinels were able to do to Bingham this year, especially a team in Bingham who, look, they may have been the 13th seed, but they were one of the top teams in the state, obviously, with the ability to rise up in those big games and advance as far as they did in the season. 2-1 the count. Pick-off attempt to first, unsuccessful. Edwards still over there after being hit by the pitch to open up play in the top of the second. Ground ball fielded cleanly, right down to the first baseman in Youngberg, who easily taps on the bag to retire Henry. Henry didn't bat in yesterday's action, but did in the first game. Had some modest success, rocketed one into left field, and then struck out in his second plate appearance and flew out into right field in the last one. Braxton Miller now due up. Miller in the earlier game, 2 strikeouts and a walk, but last night he nearly had a monumental play as he almost rocketed a home run into left field. Some could argue a home run. It looked like it from our vantage point and on the broadcast. 2 outs now. Thompson delivers strike 2 to pull ahead. As I mentioned with Miller, that home run, he launched it into left field, and they ruled it a ground rule double. Also reached base in his following at bat on a drop 3 strikeout. 0-2 the count. 2 outs. Thompson looking for a second K in the last 3 batters faced. Fouled off to stay alive. Miller still battling. Skyridge looking to punch their ticket to the state championship game. Mountain Ridge looking to force a game at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Ground chopper, a slow roller, fielded by Johansson. Can he get it over to first in time? He can. Isaac Johansson plays it perfectly, closes on it, and gets it over to Youngberg to retire Braxton Miller and leave a Sentinel stranded on base. Bottom of the second up next. 2-1, the advantage for Skyridge. Gavin Bauer, Mason Thompson, and Chase Youngberg, the back of the order, all due up. Bauer in yesterday's action was retired on a line drive, but did bring in a teammate in his first at-bat. Also flew out to center field and walked. One of the crucial runs scored in that late 7th inning comeback. Riser still on the mound, but pitchers warming up, 2 in fact, for the Sentinels should they need it. Bauer ahead in the count, 3-0 comfortably. Riser yet to really get it going today. Strike 1 delivered as Bauer decided to take it. This ball crushed into right field, and it's going to take a bounce before it reaches Edwards. Using the wheels, diving safely into second is Gavin Bauer off a booming shot. First double of the day belongs to Bauer in our nightcap. Mason Thompson now due up. He's off to a strong start for the Falcons, trying to get him to increase their lead here in the bottom of the second. Thompson in yesterday's action against the Sentinels struck out in his first plate appearance, then rocketed one to right field to reach safely on first, and flew out to center. Dips inside to avoid the inside delivery. Excuse me. One-0 the count. The runner on second, no outs in the inning. Riser hit with the balk as he lost his footing and falls off the mound. So just like that, Bauer already on third. Thompson, 1-0 the count. Swings and misses to even it at 1 apiece. Bauer over on third. Thompson looking to bring him in. He tees one off that just squeezes past the glove of Folks. It was a low-hanging line drive. Thompson trying to stretch it to a double, and he slides in safely to second. Back-to-back doubles for the Falcons, who are flying high here early. Coach Whitney makes his way up to the mound. This could be it for Riser. See what's the decision they decide to make. Thompson all fired up after bringing in the third run of the game. In fact, that will be it for Reiser. So we're going to have a pitching change. We'll step away on KSL Sports Rewind. Top-seeded Falcons in front, but it's still early.
Okay. You ain't on my level, then shoot. I can't die. 똑같은 질투 떠너비 올라와. 공기도 달라.
Reiser's day is over, at least on the mound. He's now back at center field. And in his place for Mountain Ridge is Ethan Iacono, the sophomore, looking to step up. Delivers the ball in his first delivery. Iacono, the 6', 175 pitcher. 2-0 the delivery. Iacono. Still no outs in the inning. Thompson, the pitcher, on second. Youngberg, the last batter in the order. In yesterday's action, was retired after grounding out to second. Takes his first ball of the at-bat, or first strike of the at-bat, excuse me there. And a nice hit he brought into right field after he boomed it, but he overslid. His teammate actually checked that overslid as it was going to be an RBI single for him. He chops this one. It's trapped for a moment, but no one there to make the throw, so it's another base hit for Youngberg. Last time we saw him last night, he drove in a run after launching one into left field. Ended up being a triple for him, and Youngberg was the run driven in by Dalton Young, who's about to be up to bat, to secure the Skyridge win against the Sentinels last night. That one trying to barehand it was Iacono, but just unable to do so. So Thompson now over at third. Youngberg at first, no outs. Young takes a hack, gets nothing on the first delivery. 3-1 the advantage, already 4 hits for the Falcons here early. Young, last time we saw him, was hit by a pitch. Mentioned last night the RBI walk-off single. Low delivery that time. We're going to have a pickle opportunity. Thompson think about going. In fact, Thompson going home. And did they miss the tag out? They'll say he did clip him with the leg. So they're going to say they clipped Youngberg with the leg. But either way, Thompson able to come home in the ensuing chaos. So it's a 4-1 advantage. They're going to have a conversation about whether or not they actually touched him. I thought his leg did make contact there with him, so I think that's the body part they're talking about. But they're going to talk things over. They're going to come together and discuss it. Either way, it's going to be 4-1. At the moment, we have 1 out in the inning. Youngberg decided to go to try to draw the pickle opportunity. You can see it was Nelson, Henry, and Miller all trying to figure out how they wanted to play it. Thompson was waiting for the right opportunity and then took off and able to cross home safely. It looked like it was Nelson or Miller who had tried to quickly tag and then turn the throw in time over to home plate, but they weren't able to do so. Obviously, now there's a discussion of whether or not he was actually tagged. As I said, I believe his foot did clip him. So I think that's what they'll claim the contact was. We'll see if it stands or how they want to play it. At the moment, Youngberg is firmly situated on second, not believing he should have to move. I like the discussion playing out here. And they're going to say he's safe. Wow! And that's good. And after we had originally saw Coach Roberts come out, now, not long after, here comes Coach Whitney. So as I said, I thought his foot might have clipped him, but either way, maybe nothing touched him. Young still waiting to bat. (1-0) the count. So 4-1, the differential stays. So no outs in the inning. The 4-1 the advantage. 1-1 the count, facing Young. It's only the bottom of the second. We've seen 2 runs scored by the Falcons with no outs here, and they scored 2 in the bottom of the first. Young takes that one. Sails over his head. 2-1 the difference. Young allows a low ball 3 to pass. Ethan Iacono trying to find his rhythm. He came in at a difficult spot after Reiser has been hit a few times. Has surrendered a few runs since. Light wind working in the outfield, but still a pretty sunny day here, even though it's getting late. Young heads to first on a walk. Made the biggest hit of the game yesterday with the walk-off single, but hasn't even had to make contact yet today. Hrushek now due up. Shank had the walk-off win in the first game against PG. Before that play, much like Young with his walk-off against the Sentinels last night, had struggled to make a hit, but when it mattered most, made the play. Tag-out attempt at first, barely misses. (1-0) the count. Shank, the last time we saw him, he was able to walk to first. Shank on the season, 28 runs brought in. Great opportunity to raise that total here. He's currently 1-1 in the count. Young at second. Or Young at first, Youngberg at second. Count shifts to 2-1 on the ball delivery. Iacono, the sophomore, looking to get his team 1 out here to start to build some defensive momentum. Shank lets the strike pass. Falcons faithful disagree over the call. Two the count. Shank reached at it and is retired. First K of the day by a Sentinel. And it comes from Ethan Iacono. Still 2 base runners on, 1 out. And they'll bring up Joe Hansen. Last time we saw Joe Hansen, he smashed the ball into right field to bring in the first run of the day for Skyridge. Looking to bring in a few more with a hard hit here. Joe Hansen in that first game against Pleasant Grove was retired in all 3 of his plate appearances. Inside delivery for ball 1. Johansson swings and misses after taking a hack. Count now at 1-1. Iacono gaining his swagger back on the mound. Sentinels looking to not give up any more runs here. Johansson fouls it off. Count goes to 2-1. Back-to-back strikeout opportunities for Iacono. 1-2 the count. With 2 base runners on. Swing and a miss for Joe Hansen. Back-to-back strikeouts for the sophomore. And Ethan Iacono. Tyler Ball now due up. Ball, last time we saw him, sent a sacrifice fly into right field. One of the top players in the state. Looking to shake this game up even more. That's the outside delivery pass. The pickoff attempt unsuccessful as Nelson couldn't quite get back to the bag in time. The game between these two teams last night didn't wrap up until after 12 o'clock, so a much earlier start here tonight. 12 hours ago, they hadn't even begun this game. It didn't start till 9:30 yesterday. Ball ahead in the count, 1-0. Counter shift to 1-1. Two one the count. Ball set for the delivery from Iacono. Pops it up in the air. Looks like it'll end up in foul territory. Unplayable. Two the count. Iacono looking for 3 straight strikeouts to leave 2 Falcons stranded on base and get the Sentinels out of the inning. Ball takes it off the back. Bases are loaded. He takes the back shot and advances to first. So ball to first. Young at second. Youngberg at third. Feels like forever ago we had that lengthy delay while they're trying to figure out what to call. Ike Pickle now due up. Strike 1 delivered. So we are going to see Gunn jog out to the mound to talk things over. Mountain Ridge 19-8 this season. A season ago, 8-18. And their second year as a program, they went 17-11. And 2-1. At least that's what the record shows in their first season. As some of the stats were not properly inputted. So an opportunity to make their first ever semifinal state championship here. Ball squeezes past. Might have been an opportunity for Youngberg, but he pulls back. 2-1 the count with 2 outs, and the bases are loaded. Pickle pops one up. It flies in the air. Edwards able to make the grab on it and retire 3 Falcons. So 4-1 the difference, but it could have been much worse. Ethan Iacono with a strong performance stepping in on the mound. A lot of time left. Top of the third, about to begin for Mountain Ridge. Austin Goodrich due back up with Stockton Folks and Jackson Reiser on deck. Mason Thompson, fresh off his double and being brought in himself, returns to the mound. This ball popped up into foul territory. Oh, 1 the count. Last time we saw Goodrich, he flew out in the left field. Goodrich in last night's game against the Falcons. 3 walks overall, and grounded out to second. The only time he had to put the ball in play. The inside delivery nearly collides with Goodrich there. 2-2 the count now after that ball. We started the week with 8 teams on Monday. We're now down to the final 4 in the semis. Riverton forced an extra game tomorrow. The Sentinels trying to do the same as Goodrich goes down swinging. Second strikeout of the day for Mason Thompson. It's a Mountain Ridge team that did reach the third round of the playoffs a few years ago, but was taken out by Farmington. Or excuse me, not the third round, but reached the Super Regionals and then taken down. Line drive fielded cleanly, or no, it was bobbled. Ike Pickle looked like he has it, but then couldn't come up with it to make the play. So Folks, after flying out to center last time, has a base hit. Folks in yesterday's action failed to reach base, grounding out to short, third, and striking out. But he's on first base now. After Mountain Ridge fell late last night, Sentinels obviously disappointed as they felt like they had that game. They led it by 5-2 entering the bottom of the 7th till those 4 runs were scored to give the advantage to the top-seeded Falcons. So they had to play Bingham. Once again, it's always hard to beat a team, play a team 5 times and beat them 4, but that's what the Sentinels were able to do. They added 2 runs in the bottom of the 2nd, 1 in the bottom of the 4th, and a huge one in the bottom of the 6th as the Miners scored 3 runs in the 4th and 5th combined. But that huge run in the bottom of the 6th ended up being the difference for Mountain Ridge as they bested the Miners 4-3 and find themselves trailing here early. Reiser fouls this one off. Reiser in the game earlier today, in the first game against Bingham that he had on Monday. He launched 2 home runs, was hit by a pitch, and launched an RBI into left field. Reiser earlier today didn't have quite the same success. Put the ball in play twice, but was retired. Also was hit by a pitch in action. Last time we saw him, he reached base safely on an error. On a grounder to third and an overthrow to first, which he stretched into a double. 1-2 the count. Thompson. Reiser blasts it. And making a diving grab in center field is Cruz Shank, who's able to get under it. Shank with a slide to retire Reiser. What an out. Reiser reached base twice in yesterday's action. He grounded out to shorten 1 time and struck out, but he launched a high-flying fly ball that was misplayed by the infield, and then he blasted one down the third baseline. That was a very close call. In both times, he was nearly thrown out at second as he tried to push his luck and was successful, being safe in both of those attempts to reach second. In the top of the third, already 2 outs here now. Easton Gunn due up. He drove in the lone run of the game back in the first when he boomed one into center field to bring in Reiser. Gunn takes a second to reset as Thompson, was talking things over. Low delivery that time is going to allow Folks to make it over to second. Goodrich drove in that game-winning run, what it would end up being the game-winning run in the bottom of the 6th. Struck out earlier to begin the top of the 3rd for the Sentinels. Gun ahead in the count, 2-0. This one popped up, called for, and collected in foul territory. Ball makes the grab off a 3rd, and that'll do it for the top of the 3rd. Falcons looking to increase the 4-1 advantage they currently hold when we're back on KSL Sports. Ty Evans, Gavin Bauer, and Mason Thompson all due up in the bottom of the 3rd. Falcons have scored 2 runs in each of the previous 2 innings, looking to keep it going here. Skyridge trying to send themselves into the state championship game. Top-seeded Falcons dominant all season long. Region 4 play always a gauntlet, but they stood the test and still only ended the regular season with 5 losses. This one's just going to end up in foul territory. Because I believe it might have deflected off the... I mean, there could be a net out there I don't see from my angle, but it looked like from my angle it might have deflected off the pole, which if that was the case, that was an incredibly impressive 1 in a million kind of shot for Ty Evans. Last time we saw Evans, he launched one out in center field and was retired. Evans against Pleasant Grove in the first game of bracket play. Struck out and was retired in his second at-bat as well, but launched a line drive in the left field off a booming ball. Reaching and fouling it off to stay 2-0 in the count. That time was Evans. Evans, the catcher, facing off against Iacono, the sophomore. It's by far the Sentinels have ever made it. They've never made it into bracket play, and now the 5th-seeded Mountain Ridge Sentinels trying to keep their season alive. 2-2 the count. Evans brings it to full by not swinging on that delivery. Evans chops it, but it ended up in foul territory. So we'll do it all again. Full count. Evans eviscerates it. And it's going to drop in shallow right field. So the booming blast from Evans lands him on first. Gavin Bauer now due up. Last time we saw Bauer, he smacked a hit into right field. One 1-0 the count. That pickoff attempt goes too far, and it's going to allow Evans to make it over to second. In fact, he thought about trying to stretch it and turn it into an extra stolen base, tried to head over to third, but that time Coach Roberts doing a good job turning him back. Apologies for our technical difficulties there for a moment. 1-0 the count, ground ball, bobbled off the bounce, and it's going to be a base hit for Gavin Bauer. And he puts Evans into even a stronger scoring position. It's a hard hit ground ball that Miller just couldn't bring in. Mason Thompson due back up. Last time we saw Thompson, he drove in a run when he launched a double into left field. Going to see a mound meeting take place as Coach Whitney makes his way over there. Coach Whitney, 4 years of experience, 45 wins, 37 losses coming into bracket play. As for Coach Ryan Roberts, 7 years with the Falcons, 7 years, 117 wins, 57 losses. We're going to see a new pitcher for the Sentinels. We'll tell you back here inside Utah Valley University's UCCU ballpark. A new pitcher for the Sentinels is Leo Basiosi. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Leo, the sophomore, 5'11", 160. 1-0 the count. Thompson brought in a run the last time we saw him. Lifts one into left field, and making a diving grab is Goodrich. But Thompson's still able to bring in a run for the second straight at-bat. It's just its sacrifice fly capacity. 5-1 the difference now. Chase Youngberg due back up. Last time we saw him, he ripped one right up the middle of the field. First out of the inning after Leo's strike delivery there. One 1-0 the count. Leo forces Youngberg to pop one in the air, giving chase, and able to make the grab on the move is center fielder Jackson Reiser, who's now back in his normal spot after starting the day on the mound. And that'll bring up Dalton Young after Youngberg flew out to center field. So back-to-back outs. Still just one runner on base. Dalton Young batting for the third time in just 3 innings. He's hit by a pitch the first time we saw him, then walked to base. The man with the walk-off hit yesterday still looking for his first base hit here. Oh, 1 the count. Make it 1-1 off that ball delivery. Young booms it into left field. High, giving chase, but able to make the grab before it reached the wall was Goodrich. So 3 straight fly outs end the inning for the Falcons, but not before they scored a run. Mountain Ridge up to bat when we come back, trailing by. Sentinels enter the top of the 4th, trailing by 4 currently. It'll be Luke Nelson, Remington Edwards, and Austin Ellis all due up to bat in this inning as they try to get back into this game. The winner of this, if it's the Falcons, on to the state championship. The Sentinels trying to force another game. That's what made last night's monumental finish, in which the Falcons were able to come back. We could have had the exact opposite happening here, where instead it was the Falcons who had to play earlier today and get a win against Bingham. And then they would have had to win too in order to make the championship game. But instead, because of the crazy finish, Mountain Ridge in the position where they've got to find a way to come back and retake the lead to force a game at 7 o'clock tomorrow. We're already going to see Riverton and American Fork face off at 4 o'clock here at UCCU Ballpark, with the winner advancing to the state championship. Nelson hit in the back, so he's headed to first. That'll bring up Remington Edwards in a moment. Last time we saw Edwards, he was also hit by a pitch. So the only 2 players to be hit by a pitch by Mason Thompson. Both batting back-to-back. Coach Ryan Roberts jogging up to talk things over with his team on the mound. No one warming up in the bullpen for either side. 5 runs scored off 5 hits for the Falcons. Each team charged with 2 errors. Third game Skyridge has played in the tournament. Mountain Ridge now on their 4th. Cold wind picking up a little bit in the outfield. Falcons lead at 5-1, but it could have been a lot worse. Back in the bottom of the first, Skyridge actually left 3 runners stranded on base. Or excuse me, that was back in the second. In the first, they just left 1 on base, but in the second, they left 3 on base. So could be a lot worse, the current deficit. Edwards awaits a delivery from Thompson. Strike 1 delivered. Count shifts to 1-1. One, two, the count. Edwards in the earlier action today had a very productive day, brought in a base hit after rocking one into right field, but was retired to the pitcher in his second at bat, but reached base in his third after launching one into left field. Full count. Edwards crushes it into left field. It takes a bounce before it reaches Dalton Young. 2 runners on base now for the Sentinels. Edwards in yesterday's action failed to reach base in any of his 3 plate appearances. He's done so in both times today. Now bring up the DH, Austin Ellis now. Ellis struck out the last time we saw him. You see meeting in the infield for the Falcons. No one actively warming up for Skyridge. So the game's still in the hands of Mason Thompson. You go through so many more pitchers this time of the year. These teams used to only rolling with 3 guys, maybe 4 if a couple of them struggle. Thompson's done a strong job to start, looking to keep it going here. The outside delivery, Ellis showed bunt, but pulled back on the ball. One 0 the count. Been a great week of action here at UCCU Ballpark. Now all that's left to determine is who will be in our state championship game. Could be down to our final 3 teams after tonight if the Sentinels aren't able to mount a comeback. Ellis shows bunt, and it actually bounced up perfectly into the glove of Evans, and he tried to make the throw over to second in time, but Pickle wasn't able to get over in time as Nelson back safely. Edwards at first, Nelson on second. Nelson, a very smart base runner. Ellis in the action earlier today. Didn't reach base in his latter 2 place appearances, but was hit by a pitch in one of them. He'll lift one into left field. It takes a bounce, and they're going to send him home. It's going to be close. Able to get the grab and get the out. As they'll say at the moment that they're going to hold up and talk about what exactly all happened there. I thought they had the out, but at the moment, we'll see what's being discussed and what they end up deciding on as the discussion ensues. At the moment, 5-1. For some reason, like I said, I'm not entirely sure what exactly happened because I was more focused on the throw. They're taking Edwards back to second. They are going to count Nelson. They're going to say that Nelson scored. I thought he was able to throw him out at home, but I guess that's not the case. It was a great throw by Young out in left field to lift it over to Evans at home. So the lead down to 3 now, 5-3 the differential. Still 2 runners on base. We'll see a time. We're going to have our umpires come together and talk this one over. Fans moaning and groaning at the delay. The thing I'm most confused about, as I said at the moment, was I could have sworn that Evans had the tag out at home. He must have just missed him. So give the credit to Nelson for being able to make the play over that time as our umpires talk things over. Still no outs in the inning. Waiting for the discussion to wrap up between our umpires, seeing how they want to play this one. Said could be an issue of cutting off. I said I'm not even going to try to speculate, honestly. I'm not sure what the issue is that time around. But either way, at the moment, Austin Ellis, with that huge hit ball into left field, has brought in a run. Coach Roberts making his way out to talk about it. Discussion continues, but it looks like the run is going to stand for the Sentinels, and Edwards headed over to third. So they cleared up whatever the issue was. So still now just a 3-run game. Coach Roberts has a lot of questions for the umpires, but in the end of the day, it's not going to change anything. So I believe 2-5 is our correct score. As I said, I could have sworn the tag out was good on the incredible throw from Evans, but either way, give a lot of credit to Nelson for being safe. Ellis is over on first after the RBI single. Edwards over on third. No outs in the inning for Thompson. He checks down to third. Focuses attention on Taj Henry. Henry launches one into center field and making the grab and trying to make the throw. Instead of trying to make the throw over to home, actually, he'll just take it to second. So it is now a 2-run game. First out of the inning as Henry's retired on the fly ball, but the sacrifice fly. (5-3) the score now. 2 runs added in the top of the 4th here. 1 out. And Ellis still on first. Braxton Miller due up for the second time. Last time we saw him, he grounded out to second. One and one the count. Thompson's been rocked a little bit here, trying to regain his composure. Or excuse me, instead of 1-1, it would be 0-2 the count. Opportunity to get a strikeout. It would be his third of the game. Miller awaiting the delivery. After flying, I said grounding out, I was actually flying out into right field. 1-2 the count now after that ball delivery from Thompson. There are pitchers beginning to warm up for the Falcons. The ground ball fielded cleanly, opportunity for a double play if the Falcons can make it, and they're able to. Exceptional fielding that time. The Sentinels in disbelief as they thought that Miller was safe on the dive over to first, but it was fielded cleanly by Ike Pickle, who talked it to Joe Hansen, who came over to cover second, and then threw it over to Youngberg on first. The double play gets us into the bottom of the fourth, but the lead down to 2 on KSL Sports Rewind.
Okay. You ain't on my level, then shoot. I can't die. 같은 질투 떠너비 올라와. 공기도 달라.
Cruz Shank due back up. It'll be Shank, Johansson, and Ball all facing off against Leo. (2-0) the count. Falcons surrendered 2 runs in the top of the fourth to the Sentinels. They still lead it by 2, but would like to increase it with an opportunity here. 3 straight balls delivered by Leo. Leo and Gunn talk things over briefly behind home plate. 3-0 the count. The outside delivery. So 3-1 the count. Or excuse me, inside delivery. So the strike. One runner on base now with Sheck heading over to first. Second time he's walked today. He struck out the last time we saw him, but walked in his first at-bat. Isaac Johansson due up. He also struck out the last time we saw him. Part of a string of strikeouts for the sophomore, Iacono. But in his first at-bat, Isaac Johansson absolutely launched one into right field to bring in the first run of the day for the Skyridge back in the bottom of the first. And this time, he doesn't even get a chance to swing. He was hit by a pitch. Leo struggling here a little bit. 2 runners on base, no outs. So we're going to see Coach Roberts and his team gearing up on the offensive. Coach Whitney's made his way to the mound, talking things over with Leo. Ball, Pickle, and Evans all due up with 2 runners on base in this 5-3 bout. Just over an hour and a half into this one now. 5-3 the difference. Falcons have scored at least a run in each of the previous 3 innings. 2 scoreless, 1 for the Sentinels, but 2 runs added in the top of the fourth, paying big dividends here. Ball. That one deflects off the glove of Gunn, and it's going to allow each base runner to shift over with Shank now on third and Johansson on second. Ball talking things over. The soon-to-be BYU Cougar, one of the state's most prolific hitters, As we talked about last time, those 38 runs brought in, by far the most of anyone in bracket play. He's the only one over 35, in fact. High delivery for ball 2. Ball was hit by a pitch last time we saw him, but before that, flew out into right field on a sacrifice fly. Ball pops this one up deep into center field, tracking it, and able to make the grab as Reiser. Tag up opportunity. Reiser giving it everything he's got, trying to throw it over to third. He's able to get it there, but not before Joe Hansen gets there, and another one brought in. Ball, his second sacrifice fly of the day. That'll bring up Ike Pickle with 1 out now and 1 runner on base. Pickle, last time we saw him, flew out into right field to leave 3 on base. Pickle opportunity here. Joe Hansen tagged out. Making the play that time was Stockton Folks on third. It was good recognition by Gunn, realized he was off the bag, and then Folks able to chase him down. Oh, 1 the count, 2 outs now. This one's popped straight up in the air. So in a string of 3 straight sequences, that's going to do it. But another run added for the Falcons. 6-3, the advantage for Skyridge. The top seed battling it out with the 5th-seeded Sentinels as we shift into the 5th on KSL Sports. We're set for the 5th inning to get underway here at UCCU Ballpark. It'll be Austin Goodrich, Stockton Folks, and Jackson Reiser all due up for the 3rd time. Goodrich struck out the last time we saw him. Before that, flew out into left field. Shows bunt. It'll stay fair. It's fielded cleanly, trying to make the barehanded throw over to first at time, and doing so successfully off a miraculous effort was Tyler Ball, who came flying in from third base, made the grab, nearly colliding with Evans. Some Sentinels fans felt like he was off the bag, him being Youngberg on first, but that's not the case. It was a perfectly placed bunt, but just a better play by one of the top players in the state, Tyler Ball. Stockton Folks now due up. Hit a grounder to first, or hit a ground ball into first the last time we saw him. This low-hanging line drive recovered. Like more of a fly ball, basically, but Pickle flying in from short for the grab. 2 up, 2 down just as quickly to begin the 5th. Jackson Reiser now due up. Last time we saw Reiser, he flew out into center field on a sliding grab. Reiser ended the previous game in center field himself with an exceptional diving grab to retire the Miners. Reiser reached base safely on a throwing error, and he actually turned it, what would have been just a single, into a double as he reached second. 0-1 the count. Make it 0-2 after the swing and miss by Reiser. Thompson gave up 2 runs in the top of the 4th. 1 delivery away from getting the Falcons back at the bats almost instantaneously. Outside delivery for ball 1 there. Great play by Ball we saw on the field. And then there it was Pickle flying in from short to make the grab on the low-hanging flyer. This one fouled off by Reiser to stay alive in the count. Gunn on deck if they can reach him. Gunn drove in the only run of the day one of the only runs for the day, as we had those 2, of course, score in the top of the 4th. But he was the first one to get the scoring started. Reiser goes down swinging, and Thompson is fired up about it as he heads back to see the Falcons faithful in the dugout. Skyridge, if you're blinking, you missed it. The 5th inning over. Falcons up to bat when we come back to UCCU Ballpark.
Okay.
We're set for action in the bottom of the fifth. A 6-3 lead, what the Falcons currently have over the Sentinels. Leo still on the mound. We had 4 strikeouts now by Thompson. He's been sharp. Ty Evans, Gavin Bauer, and Mason Thompson all due up here. Off the chopper, fielded cleanly. And making the throw over is Folks off a third to retire Evans. So Gavin Bauer now due up. Our last 4 batters have been up and down incredibly quickly here early. Bauer, last time we saw him, ripped one into right field and then blasted a grounder that was too much for the shortstop and Miller to handle. This bunt just ends up in foul territory, as Bauer will be heading back to first base. Oh, 1 the count. Bauer cracks one on a line drive into right field. A base hit for Bauer. And it's actually been fumbled around a little, so Bauer able to stop on second. He didn't even slide. Gavin Bauer makes it in safely, staying on his feet after rocking in a line drive into right field. Mason Thompson now due up. Thompson flew out to left field the last time we saw him, but brought in a run in doing so, and also crushed one in the left field, and an RBI earlier for a double. 1 out, runner on second, a 3-run advantage. Thompson fouls it off to move to 0-1 in the count. Oh, 1 the count. Thompson thought about swinging on strike 2. Instead, he lets it pass. Leo's been sharp for the Sentinels since taking over on the mound. Trying to close out the inning here. And trying to steal second because just recognizing no one was over. Did they get the tag out? They did. Wow! Trying to take advantage of the positioning was Bauer. And he's tagged out at third. Bauer tried to make a play. And it's 2. I thought it was 2 outs at a moment. I thought they signaled for out at least. They signaled out again. We're waiting for him to move. I'm not sure what's going on. They've signaled out. I don't know why he's not leaving third, but either way, we'll get the explanation now. So Bauer tried to steal over to third, and it was a good job quickly closing by Folks to make the play, and he will be retired. So now 2 outs in the inning, and Thompson currently 0-2 in the count, so this one could be over really fast. So Bauer caught stealing for third, the second Falcon to get caught off the base paths in this one. Outside delivery there, 1-2 the count. Thompson 1 strikeout away from bringing us into the 6th. Leo trying to deliver the K. Thompson trying to keep it alive. This one launched into foul territory. You could hear the rumbles for the crowds for a second. They thought it was maybe gone. Thompson's already brought in 2 runs on the day. In order to bring in a run with this hit, he'd have to hit a homer. The Falcons pitcher coming off a red-hot 5th inning in which he acquired his 4th strikeout, trying to avoid a strikeout himself right here. He'll launch it into shallow left field for the base hit. Could have potentially brought a run in if Bauer didn't try to steal third, but instead Thompson the lone one on base off his 2nd base hit of the day. Chase Youngberg due up for the 3rd time. Last time we saw him, flew out to center field. Before that, ripped one right up the gut. 2 outs, Thompson on first. In the bottom of the 5th. Youngberg thought about swinging on it, but pulled back. Dalton Young on deck. Neither side with any pitchers warming up at the moment. The game firmly in the hands of Leo and Thompson, respectively. Thompson chilling at first. This one fouled off, so the count to 1-1 now. Youngberg allows a low ball, to pass through. Mountain Ridge is going to be down to their final 6 outs if they want to tie this one up and extend it. This ball cracked into foul territory, so Thompson forced to head back to first base. Running on first contact, so 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Thompson on first, with Youngberg awaiting the delivery. Leo. A grounder, fielded cleanly. Can the throw get over to first in time? It will. Nice play made by Braxton Miller coming off a short to get under it. So Thompson and Youngberg both forced to head back after the play made by the shortstop. 2 innings to play. It's been Falcons here early. They lead it 6-3, but the first stop of the day for Mountain Ridge as they hold the Falcons scoreless in the bottom of the 5th could be a sign of what's to come. We saw a ton of runs scored in the 7th. The 6th could provide a punch here after what happened yesterday. Stay with us on KSL Sports Rewind. We are set for some 6th inning action on KSL Sports Rewind, live here from UCCU Ballpark. Mountain Ridge trying to make something happen. It'll be Ethan Gunn, Luke Nelson, and Remington Edwards all due up. Gunn was retired on a fly out to third the last time we saw him, but before that drove in the first run of the day when he smashed one into center field. The Sentinels down to their final 6 opportunities if they want to keep their season alive and extend this game. They're trying to force a second game that will be played at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Trying to take after the formula we saw from Riverton earlier today after they bested American Fork 6-2. They've been able to score more runs than the Cavemen were able to. Back-to-back low deliveries. So 2-1 the count. Thompson was dealing the last time we saw him, trying to get on track here against Gunn. High delivery. So the count to 3-1 now. Gunn still looking to make a big play for his team late in the game. We thought the Sentinels would be able to take it in the previous game as ball 4 delivered there. So Gunn headed over to first. We're going to have a pinch runner head over to first. It's gotten a little dark, so based on my vantage point, I, at the moment, have no idea who the pinch runner is. Luke Nelson now due up. Last time we saw him, he was hit by a pitch, and before that, flew out to center field. Nelson takes the low ball 1. Going to see a meeting on the mound take place. Coach Roberts and co talking it over as they figure out how they want to try to close this one out. 6 outs away from punching their ticket to the state championship game. Appreciate all of you for joining us all week long on KSL Sports Rewind. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 4 o'clock for our 6-7 matchup. And the winner going on to the state championship between Riverton and American Fork. It's actually a rematch from last year's state championship in which Riverton lost the first game to American Fork, but would go on to win the next two to prevent the Cavemen from repeating. American Fork coming off that 2021 season in which they went 30-1. The pinch runner on first. It's number 21 for American Fork, Boston Sundberg. So Sundberg on first. One-0 the count. No outs, and one runner on first. That one deflects off the glove of Evans. So an easily stolen base opportunity for Boston Sundberg. Two 2-0 the current count. Thompson trying to sort things out. No team has anyone in the bullpen for either side right now. So the game in the hands of Thompson and Leo. Runner on second. Strike one on the swing and miss from Nelson. Two won the count. Nelson fouls it off. Nelson late in the game really came to life for Mountain Ridge after launching an RBI in the center field. He was safe on first with the base hit and brought in a run. 2-2 the count. Thompson looking for his 5th K of the day. Will come first after a quick call time by Nelson. Nelson launches one. It's a line drive that reaches center field. Picked up by Shank to make the throw over to make sure that Sundberg can't come home. Oh, it was thrown and no one's over there to cover up. So that's a base run for the Sentinels. Wow. Calamity. Allowing the Cavemen to score a run. This game now 4-6. Still no outs in the inning. And that turns into a double. Apologize for saying American Fork that time around. Of course, obviously the Sentinels, the one to score that run in the top of the 5th. It looks like it's going to be it for Thompson. It's been a strong day for him, but he's given up a couple runs as of recently. So the designated hitter for most of the day, pitcher for this game, heads in now. Or designated hitter for most of the tournament, should say. Miles Robinson, the new Falcon, on the mound. Robinson in, set to take on Remington Edwards. After Nelson launched one into center field, and then on the throwing error back home, it allowed an RBI to score, making this a 2-run game. Last time we saw Edwards, he launched one into left field and was hit by a pitch before that. High delivery for ball one. Edwards fouls it off, going 1-1 in the count. Miles Robinson, the freshman, I will say at least that's who I believe it is, as that is what my Deseret News roster tells me. 1-1 the count. Robinson, the freshman, delivers it. It's fouled back, so the count goes to 1-2 now. One, two, the count. High delivery. And after one run is already scored here, and the tying run at home plate, and the confusion there, Nelson able to make it over to third. Robinson has reached full count with Remington Edwards. Still no outs in the inning. 2-run ball game. And Edwards walking over to first. Austin Ellis. On the count, still no outs. Ellis, last time we saw him, drove in a run with a booming hit in the left field. Count goes to 1-1 on the ball delivery there. This ball crushed into center field. A high flyer. Schenk makes the grab, but it's going to allow for a run to score. This now a one-run game. 5-6 the difference. Skyridge only in front by a single run. Miles Robinson try to figure things out. Taj Henry now due up after the sacrifice fly. Edwards on first. 1 out now. Edwards Henry, last time we saw him, he flew out in the left field on a sacrifice fly himself. Mountain Ridge scored 1 run in the top of the first, was scoreless for the next 2, but then added 2 runs in the top of the 4th and 2 more in the top of the 6th. Skyridge still leads it, but just narrowly. Second consecutive ball delivery by Robinson. There are other pitchers currently warming up for the Falcons. Two-0 the count. Throw over to first. The pickoff attempt unsuccessful. Two-0 the count, or actually make it 3-0 on that ball delivery. Three-one the count now. Taj Henry launches it into left field. It's going to be over the head of Young. It's going to bring in the tying run. Sentinels and Falcons tied at 6. We talked about the chaos we could see in the 6th inning, and it's been exactly that. The 6-6 tie. 3 runs poured on in the top of the 6th by Mountain Ridge. We're going to have a pinch runner come on. So the leading run now on first. Taj Henry's teammates fly out to greet him. After the big ball he just placed in deep left field on the RBI double. Still just 1 out in the inning. See another meeting on the mound. So we'll see what the Falcons decide to do here. If they're going to roll with Wilson or try something else. Just over 2 hours in now. What could be 2 exciting innings to end things here. It's been an explosive 6th for the Sentinels. Easton Gunn started with a walk, then Nelson. Brought in Nelson on a rocket in a center field. It was a double for him. Edwards walked on base. Then Ellis flew out on the RBI signal. Then Henry just launched that one into left field on a double. The RBI to bring in the tying run. 3 runs, the most we've had scored here. When you have a game end like it did last night, in which Mountain Ridge scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th, and then Skyridge scored 4 for the walk-off victory, you figured this one could be special. It's living up to the billing right now. The pinch runner at second for Mountain Ridge is Cannon Honeycutt, the sophomore. Represents the leading run potentially. Still just 1 out in the inning. Miles Robinson facing off against Braxton Miller. Miller, it hasn't been his game yet here early. Swings on the first one, 0-1. Miller was retired on a fly ball to right field in his first plate appearance. In his second, grounded into a double play. He's currently 0-2 in the count. I don't know what was said on the meeting on the mountain, but now Robinson looking like a different pitcher. 1 delivery away from his first strikeout and the second out of the 6th. This ball's lifted into left field. Sprinting in to make the grab is Dalton Young. This one wasn't hit over his head, and he's able to close on it and get the out. Honeycutt still at second. 2 outs now. Austin Goodrich do it for the 4th time today. He's yet to reach base in this one. Struck out in a second plate appearance. His first one flew out to left field. And his most recent one, a bunt in which he was thrown out at third in an incredible play made by Tyler Ball, the third baseman. Oh, 1 the count. One and 1 the count. Two the count. The 6-6 tie. A grounder fielded cleanly off the chop. Long throw over to first. Will make it. Big time out from Ike Pickle at short. Leaves this one tied at 6, but 3 runs scored for the Sentinels. Skyridge up to bat. Looking to take the lead back and potentially punch their ticket to the championship game. That's up next on KSL Sports. Welcome back inside for the bottom of the 6th. Here on KSL Sports Rewind at UCCU Ballpark. What an inning we just witnessed. The top of this 3rd from the Sentinels. Sensational stuff. Leo back on the mound for the Sentinels, trying to close it out against Skyridge. It'll be Dalton Young, Cruikshank, and Isaac Johansson, the top of the order, who got the scoring started back in the bottom of the 1st. Looking to break the tie here. If Skyridge could retake the lead here, they would be just 3 outs away from punching their ticket to the state championship game. Ball 2 delivered. 2-2 the count currently. Reaching on this one is Young. It hangs in the air, but making the grab on the move. Jackson Reiser, the star center fielder, showing up when his team needs him most. Out number 1. Cruikshank now due up. 2 walks and a strikeout in his day so far. One-0 the count. Shank watches ball 2 go through. Leo has been exceptional since taking over for the Sentinels. Holding Skyridge to just 1 run in the previous couple innings and a potential to shut them out again here. The first strike of the at-bat delivered. The count now 2-1. Shank, in yesterday's action, struck out, grounded out to the pitcher, and did boom his first at-bat into right field, looking to make a big play for the team here of the Falcons. And he could do it just by landing on base. He's close to doing so via the walk. Leo. And Shank heading over to first, his 2nd consecutive walk. And he'll bring up Isaac Johansson. Also means barring a double play, Tyler Ball will be up to bat. Johansson, look at his day so far. He drove in a run after blasting one into right field in his very first at-bat. It was the first one of the day brought in for the Falcons. Struck out in his most recent plate appearance and then was hit by a pitch before that. Johansson with 1 out and a runner on first. Chops it. It's fielded. The throw over to first. Gets over. And leaking off second. Oh my goodness. Chaos for the Falcons. Wow. Heading into the 7th. We are after that. Oh my goodness. It was Shank who was already trying to steal the base before the base hit was even through. Johansson chopped it over to third. It was fielded cleanly by Folks, who got it over to first for the out. But then good recognition by Henry over on first to hook up with Nelson there. I believe it was Nelson. It also could have been Miller. But just to recognize that Shank had reached too far off the base pads, the quick throw over and the tag out on Shank ends the bottom of the 6th. We'll be playing a complete 7, and it was crazy the last time between these two teams. This one figures to be memorable. Stay with us.
Okay. 슈 아껴인자 똑같은 질투 떠너비 올라와 공기도 달랐어.
The Sentinels season on the line. And they're in a battle right now with the Falcons. It was all Skyridge early in this one. They led 4-1 entering the fourth. But then Mountain Ridge started to come back. 2 runs scored in the top of the fourth, and then those 3 runs scored in the top of the sixth. The double play they just made defensively to keep ball from batting was huge. 1-0 the count. It'll be Remington Edwards. This one chopped over to first. Excuse me, actually Stockton Folks, who is due up, as I got my rosters confused here. So Folks was up first, but was retired on the chopper over to first. So 1 out now. Falcons looking for 2 more outs, and then they'll need just 1 run to punch their ticket into the state championship. Mountain Ridge fought their way back, trying not to go away quietly. That'll bring up Jackson Reiser now. Reiser has had some huge hits in this tournament. Falls to 0-1 in the count. Or 1-1 in the count, check that. Mountain Ridge led the previous game, or excuse me, we were tied 2-2 entering the 7th frame between these 2 teams last time, and that's where things got crazy. In that game, we saw the Sentinels score 3 runs in the top of the 7th. With Goodrich walking, Folks bringing him in after. Reiser grounded out to short but advanced to run. Then Gunn and Nelson brought in back-to-back runs. The drop 3 strikeout. Reiser retired at first. Falcons 1 out away from getting back on the offensive. And what did the Falcons do last time when they were on the offensive? When they were trailing entering the 7th, as they were against Mountain Ridge. They're not trailing right now, but in a close game, what were they able to do? Went on an incredible run. Evans blasted a run. Bauer, Thompson also contributing, even though he flew out to center, advancing runners. Chase Youngberg drove in a run. And then Dalton Young with the walk-off victory. Could see a similar situation playing out. 2 outs now. 1-0 the count. Sentinels faithful thought it was a ball after they saw Gunn dodge it. Gunn walked the last time we saw him. Before that, popped out to third and launched an RBI in his first at-bat in the center field. Or brought a run in after launching a ball into center field. 1-1 the count. 2 outs here. This ball's lifted. It's a base hit in left field as it's going to drop. And it could be a double by the time they get over it. They're going to try to make the long throw over to second, but it won't matter. The leading run in Easton Gunn now on second. He crushed that one into center field. And Gunn being replaced by a pinch runner instantaneously. I believe that pinch runner for American Fork, for Mountain Ridge, is going to be Tyler James. So I believe it's Tyler James on second at the moment. Luke Nelson drew up now. Drove in a run the last time we saw him after we sent one into deep center field. He's got to be careful with 2 outs. Nelson takes the outside delivery on ball 1. Nelson swings and misses. Falls to 1-1 in the count. Falcons 1 out away from return to the offensive end in this tie game. Ball 2 delivered. Falcons fans disagree with the call. The Cavemen with the pinch runner at second. If he were to score, it would give them the lead. This ball's lifted and going to drop in shallow center field. They're sending him home. The long throw. It's going to be close. No, it won't, as he's safe. Wow. Able to score. Tyler James bringing in the first lead of the day for the Sentinels in the top of the 7th. Seven to 1, the Mountain Ridge advantage. How about the double from Nelson? Would originally just been an RBI signal, but because of the long throw, he was able to make it over to second. Huge play for Mountain Ridge. Both teams even at 7 hits and errors with both 3 apiece. 7-6 the differential here. And we're going to see another pitching change, as exiting the mound is Miles Robinson. 5 years ago, there was no Mountain Ridge High School, and now they're on the cusp of putting themselves in a position tomorrow afternoon, when the game would be, that they would take on the Falcons once again. But they have an opportunity to force an extra game and potentially play in a state championship game. Mac Fowers, who the Falcons turn new, they still just need 1 out, trailing by 1 currently. Skyridge was trailing by 3 and able to come back in the previous one, so this one far from over, no matter how many runs the Sentinels able to score here. But they are down to their last out of the inning. Edwards due up. Last time we saw him, he walked. Before that, launched one to left field to reach base and was hit by a pitch in his first plate appearance. And speaking of being hit by a pitch, he is right there. Fowers loses control on that delivery. 2 runners on base now. Falcons need just 1 out. That'll bring up Austin Ellis, the designated hitter. He's driven in runs in back-to-back plate appearances. The most recent one, a sacrifice fly into center field, and before that, he cracked one into left field. Excuse me. The designated hitter looking to blow this game open potentially by increasing the lead to even more. The outside delivery for ball 1. The Sentinels with their backs against the wall and their season on the line have risen up to the occasion late in this game, taking their first lead in the top of the 7th, just as they took their first lead yesterday. But unlike yesterday, they're hoping to close it out on the defensive end in the bottom of the 7th, due up after an upcoming out soon. Ellis takes ball 2. Fowers in danger of loading the bases. Two 2-1 the count. Ellis lifts it deep into left field, back on it, giving chase is Shank, and it bounces before it reaches the wall. And it'll be a double for Ellis, bringing in 2 runs. Wow, what a turn of events here. Ellis crushed it. They're trying to figure out right now if that was a ground rule double, since it did bounce up and hit the fence. That was a ruling we had earlier where it was a ground rule double off of that. Either way, it will bring in at least 1 run at the moment. 9-6 the current differential. Our umpires coming together to talk about things. Ellis was due for a big play, and boy, did he just make one. We're waiting to find out how many runs he officially brought in. As I said, I think just based on what they said earlier, I believe this is going to be that ground rule double, so I think we might have to see one of those base runners come back out, but either way, one of the runs definitely scored. It took a bounce. That's as deep as a ball hit in center field we've seen in our 3 days of play so far. And they are going to rule it the ground rule double, so they will return Edwards back over to third. I believe that is the correct call. As I mentioned, we've seen that call before in this tournament where it bounces up, hits that area, and comes back in. That being ruled the ground rule double. But still, the RBI single makes this a 2-run game now, as Mountain Ridge has added 2 runs in the top of the 7th. 8-6 the difference in this one. Taj Henry due up. Last time we saw him, he also drove in a run. In fact, he's done so in back-to-back base appearances. The last person to do that, of course, being Ellis, who just had the double, and he drove in another run. 2 outs, though. Got to be careful. Fowers needs just 1 out to get his team out of it. Inside on the delivery there. 8-6 the score differential. Falcons have led this one for most of its entirety, but that has changed here in the 7th. It was tied up in the top of the 6th. This ball's launched into center field, and it'll drop, bringing in not 1, but potentially 2 runs. The foot race home, sliding in is Ellis. The Sentinels showing out in the top of the 7th. Shank tried to come in from center field and make a play on it, but just lost his footing. This is now a 10-6 game. What a turnaround. We've had 4 runs scored in the top of the 7th. The difference, now 4 runs in the game, 10-6. We entered this one tied. Got to bring up Braxton Miller. Still 2 outs for Henry. Just an RBI single, so he's settled in at first. 1-0 the count. If the Sentinels were to hold on and shut down Skyridge's offense in the bottom of the 7th, we would have another game for you tomorrow at 7 o'clock on KSL Sports Rewind. The stakes in both our games tomorrow will be winner goes on to play for the state championship on Friday and Saturday. Miller fouls this one off at his own feet, so the count goes to 2-1. Miller yet to reach base today. He's put the ball in play each time, but has been retired before he could reach the first base pad. 1-2 the out. Fowers looking for his first strikeout and to give Skyridge a chance to win it or tie it up in the bottom of the 7th. Miller goes down swinging, so that will do it for the top of the 7th. Skyridge needs 4 runs to come back. They scored exactly that in the bottom of the 7th last night to win it against Mountain Ridge 6-5. They'll need at least that to force extra innings, and they'll need at least 5 if they want to send themselves into the state championship game. Can they do it? Stay with us on KSL Sports Rewind to find out. Bottom of the 7th, up next. The Mountain Ridge Sentinels, the 5 seed in our tournament. 3 outs away from forcing a 2-game series, basically. This being game 1, tomorrow being the 2nd, against Skyridge for the state championship. They fell in heartbreaking fashion late last night. They rallied early in a 3-4 bout, or 4-3 bout against Bingham earlier. And now Leo on the mound, and the bats of the Sentinels have them 3 outs away. Ball, blasts it. Deep into center field, back on it. And making the grab is Jackson Reiser. Ball retired as soon as he stepped up. 1 down, 2 outs to go. Skyridge scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th yesterday to win the game. They would need to score that many to send this one in extra innings. 5 if they want to send themselves to state and end the Sentinel season, but they're down to their final 2 outs after ball quickly retired. Ike Pickle now due up. He's yet to reach base today, 0 for 3. The sophomore in Leo has been so sharp since taking over. Since he stepped in, almost no runs have been allowed. I believe the only one was when he was back. He came in around the 4th inning, I believe. But since 2 back-to-back innings, shutting out the Falcons' offense. This is a really prolific offense, not an easy task. But Leo, the sophomore, has stepped up. Ground chopper ends up in foul territory. 2-1 the count. A swing and a miss will bring it to 2-2. Pickle trying to avoid the strikeout. Leo's done a great job shutting down the offense of the Falcons, yet to have a strikeout. This one launched into center field. Riser running after it. It's over his head. It bounces, reaching the wall. Still giving chase to it. They're going to continue to send Pickle. Pickle coming over third, and they'll hold him up at third as he slides in. Falcons still got some fight left in them. Pickle fresh off the triple there, his first big base hit of the day. Evans now due up. Ty Evans, last time we saw him, grounded out to third. Before that, ripped one into right field. It would score a much-needed run for the Falcons. They still trail by 4. This line drive just reaches over the head. It's fielded cleanly, though. The throw over to first, caught off the bounce. Wow, they'll say he was safe. Oh, Coach Whitney not happy about it. As they're going to go talk things over, I believe, because he was in disbelief. He thought they got him. I thought they might have had it off the bounce, too. Event of a tie goes to the runner, of course. Either way, that's going to stand. So, the 7th run scores. So we're going to see a meeting on the mound. They'll talk things over with Leo. Evans with the big base hit. As he turns on the Jets, it brought in a run, and probably even more importantly, was safe on first because it would have made a second out really costly. Both teams tied with 9 hits apiece in this one. Mountain Ridge talking things over with Coach Whitney. Evans at first, Gavin Bauer now due up. Last time we saw Bauer, he boomed one into right field. Before that, gashed a grounder to reach the base, and in his first at-bat, laid a double into right field. He's had 3 big base hits today. He's ready to face off against Leo here. The Falcons came from behind to win it yesterday. Can they do it again? This ball boomed into left field, but back on it and able to make the grab is Austin Goodrich out in left field. So Bauer retired for the first time today. And Skyridge down to their final out, still trailing by 3 with just 1 runner on base. Mason Thompson has had an incredible day. He drove in a run in his first 2 plate appearances, and then the last one, he launched a line drive deep into left field to reach base. He got the day started on the mound. Leo looking to retire him and close out the victory for the 5th-seeded Sentinels and force the game tomorrow at 7. This ball popped up in the air, back on it, watching it. Edwards brings it in. The Sentinels come from behind and take it. What a performance, top to bottom late. Brock Whitney and his squad force the game tomorrow at 7. So we will have 2 more semifinal games for you tomorrow. One at 4 o'clock, the other at 7. The winner in each of those games going on to the state championship. Mountain Ridge trailed 4-1 heading into the top of the 4th. They added 2 runs in the top of the 4th, 3 more in the top of the 6th to tie this one up. And then in the 7th, things really got going for them. As we saw runs brought in by Nelson, Ellis, Henry. Just a few of the players to contribute. 2 runs brought in by Henry, the one by Ellis off the double, and then Nelson with a double 2 to bring some in. What a performance. Mountain Ridge wins it 10-7. They surrender 1 run in the bottom of the 7th to close out the 10-7 come from behind victory. The 5th-seeded Sentinels left 1 slip away against the Falcons yesterday as Skyridge walked off with the victory. But today, Mountain Ridge claimed victory in our nightcap. So as I said, 2 games for you tomorrow. The first at 4 o'clock between American Fork and Riverton, a rematch of last year's state championship. And the winner going on to this year's state championship. And then we'll have the rematch of this one. The Sentinels will be taking on the Falcons once again at 7 o'clock. The 1 versus 5 seed and the winners going on for the state championship. We will see you tomorrow at Utah Valley University. But that's going to do it for us tonight. For my cameraman, Vince Francis, all the hardworking men and women here at the UHSAA that put these events on. And we thank the staff at UCCU Ballpark as well. That'll do it for us. Your final on KSL Sports Rewind. The Mountain Ridge Sentinels 10, the Skyridge Falcons 5. We'll see you tomorrow.